All right, how's it going, everybody? It is Wolf, and we are back with episode 5 of the Weiss Method. I'm here with Elizabeth Hamill. For those who don't know, she is a certified Weiss Method practitioner. And over the course of this series, we've been discussing the Weiss Method and different things that go into that, from energy, the addiction cycle, and basically how to take back control of your life. Now, with episode 5 here, we're really excited to discuss some questions that still haven't been answered, that I have myself and some other people may have, as well as success stories and how the Weiss Method has impacted other people's lives for the better. So I'm excited to dive into it today. We can get right into it. Let's start with just a question that maybe some people had on their mind during the energy episode. And it's a pretty simple one, but it is, what is energy?
What is energy? Okay, that's huge. Um, which could be answered in a multitude of ways, quite honestly, at many different levels. And but let's start with something that people may actually recognize, which is something that Albert Einstein said, which is energy cannot be um, uh, it cannot be created and it cannot be destroyed. So what is energy? Well, it's present. It's with us all the time. And why is it important to start at that point? As far as being energy, you can't destroy it and you can't create it, but you can harness it. Okay. In other words, you can draw it into your life. Um, Now, we talked about in one of the episodes, I think it was two, to do with the automatic systems in our human complex body. And the other part that is really companion to that automatic system, which is the fact that we have choice. So we get to choose what energy we want to harness in our life. And we talked about on the bus and in episode 4, um, in that, there's many different types. So, there's the energy of Wolf as an example, right? There's the energy of Elizabeth. And, we recognize people by their radiation. And we recognize, some people can recognize somebody by their walk and what it sounds like if they're familiar with them. Um, so energy is even though you can say it's a bit on the unseen, um, in that what is energy? Where is it? How can I touch it? How can I feel it? Well, we can feel it and we can touch it. And it has many different appearances in different forms, right? So you could say, one example of those different forms, if you take ice as an example, as a solid form of something, and then ice turns into water, right? Same component, but it's water. And then it turns into steam. Once you've added, once you've heated it up or allowed it to melt, and then heated it up. So energy has many different forms, and you know, it is a commodity, really, that everything runs on, the whole universe. And it has many different levels, as I've said. And we talked about earlier, in specifically episode 4, about winning your life back and being in the driver's seat of your own life. right? And of your bus. And really, that is about energy and what energy you choose to process. So let's take some examples here. We all know that if you be careful who you mix with, right? And some people might have friends that are really good folks, and they really want good things in the world. They want good things in their own life, and they wish well for others. And then there's others that may not have that same quality of life going on, and but you still like them. They're friends, and you still hang out with them, and they're part of your circle. But sometimes it's like you come back from an evening out with one of those folks, and you feel like you've been kind of drained, right? And that's because with energy, high runs to low. Okay. So if you're in a situation where, well, it's just like water as an example, it's going to go to the lowest point. Um, that's just the way it flows. Now that's a gravitational issue, but with energy, it's to do with the what a person is actually processing, and you can get eaten up pretty easily if you don't watch out. So there is a saying which is, be careful with whom you mix. And um, unless there is you know a reason for mixing with somebody that you feel drained, you know afterwards, probably best not to do it for your own sake, unless you have a good reason, really. So that's a bit of an intro into what is energy and why is it important to know in terms of really trying to get one's life on a plane that is going somewhere, that is progressive, that is refining. And I'd like to drop something else in here that we've alluded to a bit, and it's to do with we talked about it with the bus, and how it was important not only that you're sitting in the driver's seat of your bus, but that you actually know where you're going and why you're going there. So that is this elusive purpose. What is my purpose in life? It's an age-old question, but very, very valid. In that, unless you have a direction, it's kind of like you can vacillate in one's life, and not really um, know where to go next, what to do next, and what it is that you want. So it's really to say, well, what is my purpose in life? That can be a little bit intimidating, but you can ask, what do I want? What do I want in life? What do I want? What do I love? What do I want to do? What lights me up? And there may be things like, what do I have to do? We all have to live in this world. We have to make a living. And hopefully a person is able to make a living doing something that they love to do. But that's not always the case. But and that can be draining in and of itself, of one's life force energy. But we are gifted with this machine, the body, the electromagnetic encasement that we live in, the aura. This whole complex scenario processes energy, and we're gifted with that, and it can work for our own enhancement, or it can work for our own degeneration. And so, can you just remind me? I was going someplace and then I went there. Um,
And we're on the topic of just energy. And I
yeah.
think where we were going with that is, you were
Oh,
discussing the fact that
purpose. Sorry.
exactly. Yep.
Thank you. So, with this gift of life, it works the best if we decide, because we have free choice, where it's going. And then you get to draw in the energy that you need along the way and put that in your tank, right? And, is that energy, what level of energy is that? It's all to do with intention, right? You know that when you have an intention in the day is much more productive than if you like, oh, I'm going to take a day off, and then absolutely nothing happens,
Mhm.
for the most part. Um, and it's not actually that refreshing in some, unless you're sick or something, or you just need to really rest and recoup. But um, it's much better to have some sort of an intention in one's life. So whether you call it purpose, whether you call it intention, whether you call it knowing what you want and making a plan to live up to that, it's all to do with energy and the type of energy that you process. And we are designed to process that energy and refine it, right? So even though we can't create it, we can mix and marry different bits of energy to create something completely new.
Mhm.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
And you know, what parts do you want to, who do you want in your life in regards to, what kinds of energy do you want? And we talked about that in episode 4, to do with who do you want on your bus. We already have a whole bunch of people back there, and some of them are deadbeats and some of them are not. you know um, and it's a whole cast of characters, but we can create new ones, um, depending upon what we want. Like we talked about, oh, I'm just not a very patient person. Well, you can actually change that. You don't have to say I'm not a patient person, therefore I never will be. That's a death sentence, really, and self-imposed. So, we get to choose what we process. We get to choose who's on our bus. It may take work, and how to build those different qualities up is, um, a lot of it is doing what you love to do, and they come on their own account because you're so inspired and passionate about it. And
Yep.
passion is an uh, amazing quality to have
Absolutely.
going for you and helps you on your way. So
Yeah. It's very important. And I think that that idea of purpose and passion is really important in giving someone the concrete and the base that they need to be able to have direction in their life and know what to follow. I think there are people though that they find it difficult because some people might not feel like they're in the driver's seat in any aspect of their life. Maybe, they have unwanted habits and maybe their work life isn't the best and their home life isn't the best. How would you say someone like that should begin to take back control of their life and get in the driver's seat?
yeah, I think the first thing is the fact that, and there's a little saying that goes with this, which is knowing is the first remedy. So, knowing that one's life is out of control, knowing that one wants to change that for the better, is the first remedy. And we actually referenced that last episode where, when you found yourself on the back of the bus, in the back of the bus because, something happened and you lost control. And the fact that you go, how did I end up back here again? Actually puts you back in the driver's seat. Uh, so it's building up a array of different skills that work for your life to keep you on target, to keep you on track, and to find new ways to do things. And not everybody who is, can actually work that out for themselves. And actually, I am a certified life coach. So I do help people with this, who may not have any addiction problems or unwanted habit problems, but they may be in a transition in their life and they just need a helping hand to be on their way. And so I offer a lot of skills, skill building exercises inside of that. And one of them is actually dealing with one's fears, right? So we all have fears. It's part of our design, and it's actually, the instinct is good at picking up on fears, and it's part of our survival mechanism. So, however, like anything, these fears can be overwhelming in a person and really curtail their impetus to do new things, to take risks that are, you know, important for their next steps. I don't mean take risks unnecessarily so, but the ones where it's a little scary, but uh, it's important to take that next step. So, in dealing with fear, the most important, the first step in that is actually shining a light on it, because it's like fear lurks in the corner, right? It's lurking in the corners, in the dark, and it stays. You're fearful of it because you can't see it, and you don't know what it is. Um, and so, if you shine a light on it, it's like, oh, that's what it is. It's like naming something. Um, that's my fear of spiders as a very inert example. Might not be inert for some people, but I know I had to get over my fear of spiders at one point in my life, and I did. And I did it by actually educating myself about spiders. And, in a sense, that was like shining a light on them. So, a lot of fear comes from not knowing, right? And in this world, there's not a lot of excuses for not knowing. There's
Sure.
so much information available for to find out about things. And I know, in the medical end of things, it's like, you're not feeling well, you went to the doctor and you're waiting for tests to come back. And the worst part is waiting because you don't know. And so, it's important as well to know, well, maybe I should just put this on the I don't know shelf. And, I will know in a while. But so there's fears that we have to learn to overcome and learn to handle. And quite honestly, those fears are handled by our strengths because we have those too. Everybody's got them. And that's a really important aspect to realize. And most people can understand their fears, understand their weak points. They know what those are. They don't necessarily know what their strengths are. And both are equally important. So I don't even remember what your question was, but that's where we ended up.
I think it's important. And going down just the idea of fear, do you think it's fear is what stops a lot of people that might have unwanted habits from trying to solve them?
I do. It's really perceptive of you, Wolf, that you would ask that question because um, fear stops people from actually taking their next steps. And, because they just don't feel like they can face it for whatever reason, a multitude of reasons. And because they don't think they can, they don't want to fail again. So it's really fear of failure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that can override the fear of being out of control in a very easy way. And it does. But fear of failure is, it's easy to say those words, but we've all been there where we've oh God, I don't know if I could do that. Um, and I don't know if I can. Oh, so I just won't try. And being able to go on, being able to pick oneself up after some kind of a failure or um, some sort of an event that happens in one's life, and coming out the other side is the most strengthening thing that a human can do. And they build more character by doing that, by making that mistake, or uh, you know failing at something, than they do if they don't try. I believe that if if humans just tried their best all the time, their lives would be so much better. I say that to myself all the time,
Yeah.
just
And it's
need
the
to
little
keep
things.
trying. Sorry, what?
It's the little things too. They add
Absolutely.
up. I think if you embody yourself as someone that's always trying to do your best in every little thing, that usually precipitates across everything you do.
Yes, it's definitely contagious to the other folks in the back of the bus. Um, so yeah, trying is a really important thing, and sometimes people just aren't ready to give up their um, unwanted habit or addiction. They're just not ready, and that's okay as long as they keep trying to be ready,
Mm-hmm.
because timings are important on that front. You know, um, so it's that's what I'd say about that.
Yeah. What are signs that someone is ready to get rid of an unwanted habit?
But almost like we come full circle here, because I think we talked about this in the first episode. It's when it really bubbles up from the inside, that can't, they just don't want to live with it anymore. And it can't be for external reasons. And, as I said then, I do a brief consult, free consult with, anybody that's interested in going through the Weiss Method treatments. And that's where what I assess is, are they ready? And and as well as answering all their questions and whatnot. But that's I ask questions to find that out because I want them to be successful. And so yeah, it has to uh, be an inside decision. It can't be because of any external reasons by family members or friends or anything. It's not to say that family members and friends can't have their say in it, um, but the person needs to agree at least at the same energy level as that external influence, because they have to do it for them first, not for anybody else. That's really the nutshell answer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And going into that, transitioning a little bit into what success looks like in that, and when someone does make the decision to make that change, you've seen a lot of people over the years being a part of the Weiss method, and you've used it yourself, and that's why you're so passionate about it, because it works. Um, but how have you seen the Weiss method for someone who does want to change their lives? How have you seen the Weiss method change other people's lives for the better?
Well, besides the fact that they are free of their unwanted habit and addiction, um, what I hear coming back from people is that it changed my whole life. It wasn't just about the fact that I stopped drinking alcohol, as an example. It's the fact that what that allowed my life to then be able to be open to, and I got so much more done. you know, I was, you know, I hear people say, you know, I can spend so much more time with my children. Um, Somebody said to me that, and I actually treated a physician for alcohol. And this person said to me that I just feel so much more present with my patients. And so it bleeds into other areas, that success that they have won for themselves. Um, I don't take credit as a Weiss Method practitioner for the fact that somebody, gives up an addiction or an unwanted habit. It is their win, 100%. And when they have won something in a person has won something in their life, hard won, because of for whatever reason they ended up in that state, then that is causes an elation that cannot not radiate into other parts of one's life. So that's why it changes their life, and causes so much more to happen than just being rid of the addiction or unwanted habit.
Absolutely. And being that, you being a Weiss method practitioner and the fact that you're also a certified life coach, um, do you think those two go hand in hand? Because the people are undergoing the Weiss method treatment, but being around you and, around your energy and also just around your, life coaching advice for them, do you think those go hand in hand and have a benefit in impacting other aspects of their life for the better?
Yeah, I mean, I do check in with uh, the clients that I treat afterwards, continue for a while. And it's, I'm able in that situation to make small little adjustments along the way for them, to maybe see something a little different, or add in this exercise there that might help them uh, be a bit more effective in their life. So absolutely, it's actually, with all the Weiss Method practitioners in the world, there's not I don't know actually of any others that um, are also certified life coaches and utilize that in the Weiss Method. I do life coaching separate as well. So, I work with people without addictions and unwanted habits as well. And that's usually in transition. I think I said that earlier. People are in transition from whatever, different life happenings that they need to work through. And so, yeah, it does help because I can see things from a little bit of a different perspective. And as I said, I've got a whole bunch of tools in my tool chest to help people get through things.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's phenomenal. And just speaking to, that experience going, through the Weiss method, that's something that you've actually, you've used the Weiss method, as I said before, as something to treat an unwanted habit. What was that experience like for you? Going through the Weiss method and now being on the other side of it, for probably a long time now. What has the Weiss method experience been like for you?
You mean as far as having, mean the fact that I'm an alumni?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Um, well, it means that I am free from nicotine, and not just the physical end of it, but the fact of how it it ran my life for over 40 years. And that is, when you think about it in those terms, it's like, what? And now things things run our lives all the time. The fact that we have to keep the lights on, the fact that we have to pay the mortgage, and all of that stuff. So there are certain things that we have to maintain being alive in this world and at this time, and in this where it is that we live. um, but we don't need to complicate it by having behaviors that are running us rather than us choosing what behavior we need in any particular situation. So, like in that bus analogy, right? Where, if I'm in the driver's seat of my bus, I had, uh, let's come up with a name for him. Her, Shirley Smoker, right in the front seat all the time, right there, easily accessible, going, hey, it's time, pull over the bus. And we don't like to smoke back there, so you have to get off the bus to smoke. So that's what it was like, and I was beholden to it, and I just felt so much more free in my life, that I was no longer beholden to that habit, and that addiction, because that is both a habit and an addiction, that is very virulent. So I'm very pleased to be rid of it. And as I said in one other episode, it was like, I know that if I ever picked up a cigarette again, it could be that I would then get addicted again. So I just don't do it.
Yep.
That is a red line decision, no go area in my
Yep.
life.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to define those. Before you underwent the Weiss method treatment, for other people that might feel like they want to change that, but did it feel like before you went through the Weiss method that this is something, I'm sure you tried potentially other ways of quitting.
Yeah, I
Did
did.
that ever feel like, wow, man, there's just no way that I'm going to stop doing this?
It was at the point for me, it was like, I just really want to stop this, and I'll try anything. Well, not
Yeah.
anything. There are some things I won't try, but sure, I'll try that.
Hmm.
It's, you know, there's no downside to it. It's not a medication I'm putting in my body. It's not a patch. It's not, um, I have a thing about hypnosis. I wouldn't actually do that, but so it was energetic cleaning and rebalancing. Yeah, sign me up. That's non-invasive, basically,
Hmm.
and that's what attracted me to it. It was clean and non-invasive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think well, not everything, but some things might have difficult periods in going through it. Was there difficult periods of going through the Weiss method? Or are there difficulties that people have encountered in the past, in the treatment that you can discuss?
Um, Not so much in the treatment, um, because the treatment people usually find extremely relaxing,
Yes.
and calming, and They end up in a very still place in themselves. Um, so, yeah, some people, because what the treatment does, as I've said, it interrupts the addictive cycle and it calms down the cravings because of that interruption. Now, some people have slight cravings after the treatment, um, but they're so much more manageable. And that's what I found as well. I can manage this, you know, it's okay. I'm going to get through this. And, you know, we give other information to help you get through that. There's a breathing exercise.
Mm.
Um, you know, there's making sure your diet is clean and things of that nature, and that you don't get triggered. So it's there. There's lots of things to assist. Um, and so some people, it's like, what? What smoking? I never smoked. You know, it can be that it can be that demonstrative. Other people have a little bit more slight cravings that turn up. So that's honestly what happens. But there is a pretty good success rate for the Weiss method. It's depending on what's being treated. It's between about 80 to 90% success rate, which is pretty good.
Wow. Wow,
So,
that's really good. And so for someone that, we've discussed the Weiss method up until this point and all the different aspects that go into it. But for someone that does want to take that leap of faith to change their life and remove an unwanted habit, but isn't sure how to take that leap of faith, what advice would you give them?
um, you know, it would depend on the person. Um, I mean, the first thing that comes up in me, give me a call, or let, let's do a consult. That's what the consult is about. It's a no obligation type of consult. It's a way to find out more and to see if it's for you. So I think, like anything, because sometimes if that leap of faith, that leap, just taking that next step, there's fears involved, like we spoke about earlier in this episode. And so those fears are probably the things that are going, oh, no, 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 no. You don't want to do that. um, what if you don't succeed? Another time you're going to fail. And so there are the little voices that are on our bus. And so it's important to realize that everybody has those in varying degrees. And yeah, so it's hard to answer that question in a nutshell way, because I think everybody has what's going to work for one person is very different than what's going to work for another. And when I'm working with somebody, I'm working with an individual, and um, very much, reading their energy and trying to connect with that to see how best to help them. Because it's uh, there's a saying: the last one to know he's in the goldfish bowl is the goldfish, right?
Yeah,
So it's very difficult to understand what's going on your own bus, um, unless you've got you're well practiced in that, and you've been focused on getting to know yourself, as we spoke about last episode. And so, as somebody, a coach or whatever, and there's, other professions that do this as well, they are an external perception for that person, right? So they're not that person. So they get to see more than the person can see themselves.
absolutely. And I think that's important for everyone to have in their lives, and to be able to get that other perspective, until you can find it yourself and have the awareness to be able to ideally see that, and be able to make those changes in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think this has been a phenomenal episode. I think we've touched on a lot of things that we filled the gaps in from the other episodes that people might have been wondering about, as well as really talked about, what success looks like from the Weiss Method and from, an alumni and someone who's, been a part of this for a long time. So I think that's really special. Is there anything else that you want to touch on or anything that you think we should discuss today?
Um, I would actually just offer, if people listening to these interviews, and they're going to be podcasts as well, uh, that if you've got questions, just feel free to email me those questions, and you can reach me at info@weissmethodusa.com. And that's on the website. And um, so there's that, and stay tuned.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. This is just the beginning. And, for everyone that's listened throughout this whole series, we appreciate it. We hope you've been able to take something from this, whether it was understanding the Weiss Method is right for you, or just, a tip that can help improve your life. I think it's really important. And, it's about the whole process, whether you're ready today or tomorrow or some date in the future, as long as you're making those steps towards progress, that's what life is all about. So we appreciate it. But definitely stay tuned for more content from Elizabeth and the Weiss Method. We're really excited about a lot of other things that we're going to be working on for you guys. So definitely stay tuned, and we hope you enjoyed it, learned something.
Thank you, Wolf. It's been great. And thank you, everybody who's been listening. Appreciate it.
Okay. Hope everyone has a great day, and stay tuned for more soon. Bye.